We didn't know how much embracing winter, embracing this idea of like, oh man, I really need a change. I want it to come in like the brightest spring resurrection moment, but actually, what if the like deeper change is coming in the barrenness because of the reflection that happens in winter seasons.
We weren't trying to be profound when we wrote them.
No.
And now I'm coming back and I'm like, oh, we were prophesying our next season. The Lord was living in us bread for how to walk out winter seasons.
He was teaching me, like, I want to be Emmanuel. I want to be with you. The God that is with us, he's with us in the loneliness, in the sadness, in the like crazy high levels of joy, like permission granted, like be where you are.
Guys, it's so good to be with you today. And I want to dive right in and talk about Sing Winter.
Yes.
Because the album is out, it's in the world. How does it feel to have this album out there?
Very relieving. We've talked about doing a Christmas album for about
A decade.
Since Jake and Joel
That's
were
true.
interns, and they've
So
been
that's
here
like what,
for about 16 years.
Wow.
So, yes.
It's very relieving and really exciting. Just because Christmas albums, like, they are like evergreen trees. They just, they keep living, and so it's a relief for sure to, and just the joy of that we did it. Like, we set out to do it, and we did it.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels really rewarding. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Christmas music.
You absolutely do. Tell the truth on this
especially
podcast.
about like December 17th, and you walk into a store and you've heard that one song like 129 times, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind.
And they're earworms, so they really stick with you.
Yes, but I've been thinking this year, because we got the release a Christmas album, how the human heart, like a tree, is circular. God knew our heart needs to return back to things. Like, he created feasts that we would return back to. 3 times a year, they would return back to the same place. And when they got back to that place, they would eat the same food, probably sing the same songs. They would see things that they remembered. And when they would do that, they would remember who God was for them. And we have Christmas albums that... We have an Over the Rhine Christmas album and a Rosie Thomas Christmas album that we started listening to. Actually, the week we finished this house 18 years ago, Over the Rhine came out with their Christmas album. And we listened to it the whole time we were moving in.
That's incredible.
And every year we return back to that album. And now 18 years of memories are packed into those songs. So it's like, as we return back to them, like... I get weepy and teary-eyed, and like all the memories of my kids growing up. So I think part of what I love about this album is like our dream is that people would return back to it 10 years from now and be like, oh, we started listening to this when our kids were toddlers and now they're teenagers, or, but we wanted to, just get more Christmas music out there so we don't have to listen to so many songs so many times, but also create a place for people to remember. Those are big thoughts about how excited we are about this Christmas album.
Well, even hearing you refer to those albums and then kind of making reference to standards and the songs we've heard since we were children, some of the really old songs, it reminds me that there are so many ways you could get into making a Christmas album. But what's really unique about this album is that it's a compilation album, and it's not just your voices and your songs. There's a host of other voices. Some people will recognize, some people won't. And I'd love to hear just a little of the inspiration from you guys behind making a Cageless Birds Christmas album that feels like this, that has this much expression and voice.
Yeah. I think I would say that it's so special to have so many songwriters on our staff, and that we are just running alongside of. And, the predominant thing that we do isn't necessarily songwriting, but we do write worship songs and singer-songwriter songs and all those things. So it's a privilege to be able to come into a season where there's so many people that bring so many different expressions to the table of the holidays and really like the winter seasons. I think when we came into, it's like, we want to do a Christmas album, but we also want to honor the seasons. Like Sing Winter is actually a song we recorded years ago.
Yes, Sing Winter.
And it was a really special song that we wrote and recorded a long time ago. But it's really not about Christmas necessarily. It's about the beauty of winter and like just what comes in those seasons, the clarity the winter brings. Like in the barrenness, there is so much clarity. And if we can learn how to really embrace it, then we can find new rhythms when these seasons come in our souls and our minds and in our hearts. And so I think I felt really excited. I mean, I'm a mega team player, so I'm just like, I want the team there no matter what, you know? But I felt really moved by like, what would it be like to feel the posture of so many different writers and how we all see seasons like this, the holidays, and specifically like when I remember last year coming into the holiday break and being like, okay, we're going to do something different next year. We really want to do the Christmas album. Yeah. We're going to have a little bit more time to do it. And the time to write Christmas music is actually during Christmas. In my opinion, like it's really hard to write stuff when you're not in it.
Writing a Christmas song in July is
difficult. I mean, you can do it, but you don't have, I think the sparkle is when it's actually, it's happening in real time. And so thinking through that, like I mean, you would be one of them, like specifically with the fathers, you, Jake and Joel, was like get lost in the reality of that you're a father, your children are getting older, the parenting aspect of like, we love the holidays. I think the most, this is my perception, as like children and then parents.
The range.
Because you have all these childhood memories, and then you have memories of your children, because children just love the holidays, you know? And so I remember just really charging all of you guys, like, get lost in the nostalgia of the reality of what's happening in your life, like in real time, and write those songs that your children will listen to, will return to, and will remember that you fully gave, like the full range of your heart to the joy and the sorrow of that life is changing and it's moving. And so I think as far as the compilation goes, having like, you know, that all the way to like Molly and her stunning, beautiful heart, like thinking about her friends and the people in her life that are actually going through really hard times. And the holidays just amp up, right? Like they seem to intensify anything we're feeling, whether it's joy or sadness or loneliness, like just missing people. And so the full range of that, all the way, you know, there's just like me and Jonathan have been married almost 25 years, you know, all the way to the singles that like Trevor and Molly and Phyllis and just all like, I just love that the spectrum of our friends and what they actually bring. It is like the best potluck you've ever been to. Like we're not just bringing casseroles here. Like we're bringing our lives to the table and things that matter to us and how we see life. That's the thing I love about a compilation. Yeah. But then the thread of it is that we're the Cageless Birds. We love deep emotion. We're not afraid of nostalgia and sadness. We're not afraid of high joy. And I really love that about what we fought for in our schools and as a staff. Like we really value that work of the heart. And so to bring unapologetically, to bring that to the table of songwriting around an album that could be, you know, you could have like the sugariest sugar cookie you've ever had. Like you can't really write those songs any other time. I mean, I've been in writing sessions where we're like, that sounds a little too Christmassy and it's a worship song, you know? Yeah, right. Like that tipping point is actually, it's not far away from joyful songs. Like there's a tipping point, but to be able to fully go there and simultaneously to be able to fully go to the nostalgia part and
Yeah.
and like the comfort and the like, oh, the barrenness of winter and the promise of the comforter and
Wow.
and the Lord's presence. I think that as a compilation, when I listen to it through, I feel really grateful for just all of that perspective.
Yeah, so much range.
So much range. Like I just, when I listen to the songs that the fathers wrote, I'm like, this is the best. Like there's nothing like writing about your actual life.
Yeah.
You know, and just thinking, I mean, one of my favorite lines on the whole album is watching my sons become little men. And I'm just like, oh man, like when your children are older, like my children are old right now and they're adults.
Wow.
Like they're going to, like that song is going to mark this season for them.
Yes.
And they will return to it.
That's right.
And return to the like, my father gave space
Yeah.
to think about our life. And I just like, I think that altar that you and Jake and Joel built
Wow.
is really precious. I think probably for me as a parent, out of the songs, those three like really, they stick out to me because I mean, Jake's is just so like, just like, can you even listen to it without crying, you know? And Joel like reaching into that, like, like time is passing. Can I slow down? Like, is it possible for me? I want to learn it, Lord. I want to slow down. I want to be filled with wonder. And so I think that's the joy of the compilation. Like we're all seeing life completely different. We all experience things differently. And then the willingness to bring that full emotion to the table, I think is a real marker of this. And it's why we called it Sing Winter and not Sing Christmas. You know, like the album really is full of like this season.
Seasons.
Yeah. Some of my favorite albums, real quick, one of my favorite collections is George Winston was a piano player.
Come on.
I don't know if he's still making music, but he had a collection of like, I think all four seasons. And his winter collection was just like listening to how he interpreted all spring, summer, autumn, and winter. I think is the four.
It's called December.
It's called December.
Yeah.
But just like how he embodied that is just so cool. I love that. I love that thought of like, let's actually write an album that embodies winter.
Yeah. And I think with the compilation, what we worked really hard on is you mentioned like a potluck. I've been to some potlucks and it's like a very random array of food, you know, with like the random Jello salad at the end and then the, you know, fried chicken here and then pasta here. And like, you're just like all over the place. We actually worked really hard of how can this be a very intentional meal that we're all bringing dishes to, but we're all like, it's all around a theme. Even the sounds like a relay race, when you're passing the baton to the next person, like the sequencing of the album, we spent a lot of time, tried like 20 different options of how do we are we passing this along? So as you go from dish to dish, you're not just like shocked at what is happening, because you see Christmas completely different than I do. And Molly sees Christmas completely different than Melissa does. But how do we do this in a way where it's like each dish is like another course that just keeps getting better. And part of our passion was we wanted to create a Christmas album that you could have playing in your house at any moment and it wouldn't overtake everything. Because there are those Mariah Carey Christmas songs that just like, you know, you can't listen to it quietly, which is great. We need those songs. But we also I love the music we listen to in our house when we're cooking and we're eating is quieter music that can play in the background. And so you really can, from track one to this almost last track. The last track gets a little joyful. Awesome. It's called "All the Joy," but we actually put that one at the very end, so you can listen to this album and I listened to it again this morning preparing for the podcast and Walk the Land listening to it. And it was just like, as I hand you have the second track on the album. Me and Melissa hand Sing Winter to you, and then you hand it to Rosemary, and then Rosemary hands it to Jono, and then Jono hands it to Molly, and then Molly hands it back to me and you. Like, I love how you can listen to the album like that.
Yeah.
So we really did intentionally think about that with the songs.
There's so much peace on the album from start to finish. And I love that the language of the table is such a primary theme that you guys are talking about. And I feel like after multiple listens to it, it really does start with the title track, which is Sing Winter, which has so much history. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about like the table that you're describing with Christmas and these altars of remembrance that you're talking about, how much there's this theme of past, present, and future around the Christmas table and around these feasts and these holidays that feel so important to ground us.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just ask, this would be not the first, second, but really, I guess it's the third iteration of the song Sing Winter.
Yeah.
Because there's one from way back in the day that people that have been tracking would know, and you can still find that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I was wearing a red beanie in that video.
Actually, I think you were, and you're on your back porch.
Yeah.
So we're feet away from where that first recording happened. And then there's another version of Sing Winter that's actually on Live at Home.
Yep. Closing track.
Which would have been 10 years ago.
Yep.
And now there's this new version, but I was curious what it felt like to kind of, in that theme of the table, the altars of remembrance, what it felt like to return to that song and its themes, even where you are now, returning to a song that has been with you for so long. And I know it's not the only song on the album that has some history, because I'd love to hear a little bit about salvation as well. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people would know how much history is in that song as well. But what was it like for you guys to return to Sing Winter and even use that as like a springboard into the rest of the album? The song.
That's a great question.
Can I tell the quick story of how we wrote Sing Winter?
Oh, please.
We had bought Cadence, my son, a ukulele for Christmas. It was JD's internship, so it was like 2011. So Cadence would have been 6. No. He'd have been 9. This is what old people do. You talk about dates. Cadence would have been about 9. And we had a ukulele that we bought him for Christmas. The kids had gone to bed, and Melissa was up making Christmas cookies. This is like a week and a half before Christmas. And I went and got the ukulele after Cadence had gone to bed. And that year for our Christmas party, if you went to Johnny Cash's house and you ate dinner, he would make you sing for your meal. And this has been verified by I know people who've been to Johnny's house, and at the end of the meal, he'd be like, you have to sing for your dinner. And he would hand them a guitar and they have to sing a song if they were a singer-songwriter. And that's how the song A Boy Named Sue, Shel Silverstein was at his house, the poet. And he said, you got to sing for your dinner. And he read that song. He read the lyrics to A Boy Named Sue, and then he recorded it.
Wow.
So we had a Christmas party 12 years ago, and we told everyone, if you want to come to our Christmas party, you have to sing a song. And it wasn't everybody, but about 10 different people sang at our Christmas party that year. We set up like a little acoustic night, and different people sang. And we wanted to do Baby It's Cold Outside. And so I got the ukulele. You're baking Christmas cookies. I'm like looking up the chords for Baby It's Cold Outside, and while she's baking Christmas cookies, I'm figuring out the chords on the ukulele, and we're singing Baby It's Cold Outside, and we're singing it back and forth while she's making cookies. And one of the things as a songwriter I love to do sometimes is like learn another song and find chords that I wouldn't normally use. There's chords in that song I wouldn't normally use. And so as I'm learning Baby It's Cold Outside, we leave the old song and a new song starts happening. And we start writing that night, Sing Winter. And hear the snowflakes falling, winter's calling my name. And we stay up to like 2 a.m. writing Sing Winter, making sure Cadence doesn't wake up and see the ukulele, And so we stay up, and it's like 85% finished. We fall asleep really late and wake up the next morning, And the kids, we used to have a little TV room in here, and we put on a movie for the kids, and I was like, babe, we have to finish this song. Like as a songwriter, like when the window is open, and if you seize the day, sometimes you can write a song really quickly. I was like, let's try to finish this song, but we can't write it in front of the kids because kids can't see the ukulele, So we sneak into our bedroom over here on the other side of the house while they're watching a movie, and we finish the song. As we're finishing the song, we hear the kids screaming. We're like, what is going on? Hide the ukulele. They're running to the room, and like we slide the ukulele under the bed, and the kids run in our room. They're like, it's snowing outside. And it's early December. In North Carolina, where we're at in North Carolina, we don't get snow very much. So it's just a magical thing when it snows here. And as we're finishing Sing Winter, it starts snowing. And we're just in the Christmas joy. I think it was like the first day of our staff holiday. We called our staff because we had just bought these Canon 5Ds that we could film with, and we're like, me and Melissa just finished a Christmas song. Come over to the house while it's snowing. We're gonna record the song. It's like 5 minutes old. We're holding our little newborn song out there on the porch as it's snowing outside, and that was our literally first time singing it through while it's snowing outside. Wow. And then a year later, we were finishing up Live at Home. I was like, what if we took another song we wrote in our house? And so the Live at Home version of Sing Winter has the ukulele on it. And when we came into this album, we had always wanted to re-record it and slow it down, and for it to just have a different feeling to it. And we kind of used that song as sort of the color palette for the album, of like, we want the album to feel like this song. So it was really wonderful to return back to it, to do it in a slower pace. That's the story behind it and some of the thoughts around it.
Yeah, I think it's also, me and Jonathan sing a lot together, which can be really tough because he's a man and I'm a woman, and so sometimes it's like the low, like where it sits in my range is like, it's so low. So the other ones,
and where it sits in my range is so high.
It's so high. and then, so we're always trying to find that sweet spot. Because we do a lot of duets. Like, obviously, some of the biggest songs that people would know are us singing together.
Yes.
And whether I'm singing a verse or I'm singing a chorus or vice versa. So I think that it was beautiful to return to it, and your voice changes. I think returning to this song made me realize how much your voice changes. And it's not that it just necessarily gets better. I mean, it does get better the more you sing, but it changes as you get older and like life and all those things. And so,
like a good wine.
And so it was cool to return to it and be like, I could change some of the melody to fit the way I sing now.
Yeah.
That was a really fun part for me, as a side, because the song is so special to us. And I actually love the recording we did on Live at Home. But it's like one winter song, one Christmas song, whatever, in the scheme of like a worship album.
Yes.
So it's like, to bring it, we couldn't not actually put it on an album that was made for it and let it really shine. And so it was wonderful to return to it and just have fun creating like new melodic structures. And it's the people that have like really loved the older one, I know they're like, why did you change it? My sister called me, out of the gate. She's like, we're listening to Sing Winter. Me and the kids decided that we do really love the ukulele one a little bit better. And I'm like, totally. But then there's all these people that haven't heard Sing Winter, and it was wonderful to return to it and just like, how do we want to sing it now? Like, we're in our mid 40s.
That's how we sing it in our 30s. This is how we sing it in our 40s.
Yeah, come on.
It's true, and it felt just beautiful. And I think to even return to the lyrics and like, wow, like we didn't even know what we were singing.
No, there we go.
Like, I think like the trade-off and the like, can I fall like glory to wash your year away?
Come on.
Like, that was really before the Lord, I even had really the understanding of winter seasons, and like there's, we have a Cultivate volume called The Clarity Winter Brings. I had a very, really profound moment with the Lord when I was recovering from a surgery around winter.
Wow.
Like all of like, when I look back on just the depth, like the depth palette of Sing Winter. I'm like, man, we really didn't know what we were singing in our early 30s. It would have been.
Yeah. You'd have been 31.
Yeah, we didn't know how much that embracing winter, embracing this idea of like, oh man, I really need a change.
Wow.
And I want it to come in like the brightest spring resurrection moment, but actually, what if the like deeper change is coming in the barrenness because of the reflection that happens in winter seasons? Like, what if it's actually not going to like pull me into a really heavy place, but it's actually going to lift something off of me. Like if I embrace this reality of just this, like can I fall like glory to wash your year away, and all that remains was really meant to stay. And I'm like, I don't think we knew what we were singing then. So I think to return to those lyrics, that's always a gift, to re-record
really
music
profound.
That's older, because I get to think about that, like Melissa and Jonathan, who wrote it with the ukulele, and then just like on the porch with it snowing and feeling like, oh, we were just really young and
chasing a moment,
and it was just full of magic, and we absolutely didn't know what we were singing then. We were prophesying over the coming years, and how much winter was going to matter. I think it was really important to us to like just give in to like the deeper message of what we didn't even know that we were saying. So I can think about all those versions of us, and really embrace that, man, sometimes you really do write things in your youth that will carry you into your, like, just every season of life. And it's actually really a really deep song. And so I think it was a gift to be able to return to it and just be like, man, this is why we love songwriting.
Yeah.
Because you catch it in the moment, but it's eternal. And anything that's eternal keeps giving.
Yes.
It just keeps serving you year after year. And I think that is the gift of Christmas music. It is the things that we don't even know we're so craving to return to. And then there's that communal reality that we all are returning to the same songs. And that's such a rare thing. And I feel very grateful for the gift of just like, returning to that melody and returning to just like, whoa, how, like, this is something very special.
Yeah. To tag on to the things you're saying, it actually was the hardest song to record.
Oh, so hard.
It kicked our butts because when we recorded the first one, we weren't thinking. Oswald Chambers has this quote. He says, this one gets me. He says, beware of posing as a profound person.
Yeah.
God became a baby. Beware of posing as a profound person. God became a vulnerable baby. There's nothing more vulnerable than a baby. And it's the most profound thing that's ever happened. God becoming a baby. We didn't realize we were being profound when we wrote the lyrics.
Definitely.
So to return back to something we wrote 15 years ago, and we're like, I'm reading back through, I was like, how did we write this in our 30s? That's why it's so important to journal. That's why we make leather journals here, because like you're writing things down that you don't realize, because you're so close to the canvas of your own life, you can't see the full picture, and then you come back 15 years later. So to return back to lyrics 15 years later, and I see the same thing. It's like, I think we wrote this before your foot surgery, and your foot surgery was one of the darkest nights of our soul we've ever been through. And that was the moment that you had the revelation, the clarity winter brings. And it was in a place of deep disappointment for me, so many fears, watching my wife go through more pain than both of your labors combined, like, and just feeling so powerless as a man, like wanting to, like, just watching you in so much pain and not being able to fix it. And like, we sang about winter's silent song, and then we entered into a winter season. Like, there's been so much winter these last 15 years, so much disappointment, so many unanswered prayers, so much tension. And then also, like, there's been so many summers as well where, like, everything blooms again and there's resurrection. And then, but there's every year we come back to death again. It's like every year back to death. And what will you just share real quick what the Lord said to you about the clarity winter brings?
Yeah, because it was a surgery I had because of like the effects of the disease I have. So it had damaged my feet pretty dramatically, my toes. So they had to go in and do pretty major surgery on 7 of my 10 toes. And so it just lasted. The recovery was really gnarly. And I was sitting outside. It was the March, February, something like that.
Before the Leafs were back.
Yeah, and I was just sitting bundled up because I really couldn't walk without a walker. It was just a really strange and dark time for us. And I was sitting on the deck, and the Lord actually had been really quiet. It was interesting, and people just kept saying, like, well, you're just like, you're sitting around, what's the Lord teaching you? And I'm like, teaching me? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even understand that. But I was really seeking the Lord, like, Lord, what's going on? And it just felt more like he was sitting next to me instead of sitting across from me.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think that when I look back at my life, I love the moments the Lord sits across from me and he's like, now this is what, like, we need to talk. I live for those moments, you know?
Yeah.
It's actually a little bit more vulnerable for me, for the Lord to be quiet and just to be present. It takes more trust for me. I can see that, like, in just my history with the Lord. So that day I was sitting out there and I really was like, Lord, please speak to me. And I really did feel the presence of the Lord just come and sit next to me. And I just like, oh, okay. And I sat there for a very long time. And then I really felt the Lord ask me a question. And he just said, Melissa, what do you see? And I was just staring out into our woods. And I said, Lord, I see barrenness. Like, it's the winter. Like, everything is barren. And he said, yes, that's true. And then he said, but don't you love how far you can see? In the summer, our woods are like a wall of green. I say that I live in a womb of the woods. It's just it's like literally when spring hits, everything gets, it's like a wall, and it gets very beautiful and tucked in and tight. But when all the leaves fall, you can just see how deep our woods are. It's because they're all hardwoods, so they lose all their leaves. And the Lord just said, like, that's true, but don't you love how far you can see? And I sat with that for a minute, like, wow, I haven't even thought about that. I do actually love that. And then he said, yes, it's the clarity that winter brings.
Wow.
Like, I'm giving you clarity. I don't want to sit across from you. I want to sit next to you. And so it was a very, like, okay, like, it's not that the Lord was teaching me a lesson. Life was teaching me a lesson. I mean, it was just hard. I have a disease and I needed surgery, but the Lord was giving me the gift of his presence.
Wow.
And I think that, again, like, the older I get, the more I like to reflect, because I can see the themes.
Wow.
What is the theme that God is saying? Like, what's the theme of our life? Like, where did that theme start?
Yeah.
And like, where did, like, and for us as artists, it almost always is something creative. I would say.
Yeah.
And especially with our songs. And so to look back and be like, winter, embracing winter is absolutely a theme of our life because of my illness. But like reflecting back, I'm like, that understanding started with Sing Winter.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Profound.
I'm remembering we wrote
Profound.
that, and I think a few months later you had your foot surgery. I hadn't even thought about that. So to return back 15 years later, and I'm singing these lyrics that we weren't trying to be profound when we wrote them.
No.
And now I'm coming back and I'm like, oh, we were prophesying our next season. Like the Lord was living, giving us bread for how to walk out winter seasons. And instead of like pushing away winter seasons, we've learned to like embrace them. We're still learning how. Yeah. But I love returning to Luke every year. Circling back to the book of Luke and reading this story of Zachariah and Elizabeth, this story of Mary and Joseph. And the more, as you get older and you read it, you're like, this is a crazy story. And it's not just happy. Yes, there's two boys that show up that bring a lot of happiness, but they also bring complete humiliation to Mary. She's everything in their culture, like for her to have a baby out of wedlock, is absolute embarrassment and humiliation. Yeah. Although it's like the craziest joy the earth's ever known. Angels and shepherds are showing up on the night of his birth. Yeah. And then you have a story of two old people who have a life of unanswered prayer. Yeah. Zachariah and Elizabeth, all they've ever longed for was a son or a daughter. And you have this old man showing up at the temple to offer this sacrifice, and his heart is broken with disappointment. He feels completely powerless. I had a couple weeks of feeling very powerless, wanting to heal my wife and couldn't. He has a lifetime of watching his wife being humiliated, and he's a priest. He should be able to pray and she gets healed, and he can't fix it. And then all of a sudden, Angel Gabriel shows up, tells him this crazy news that they're going to have a baby. And he says, well, give me a sign that this is going to happen. Remember the lyric in Sing Winter, sing me your silent song. Sing Winter, sing me your silent song. And I can't wait to watch the replay of this moment. And the angel Gabriel says, well, this is your sign. Because he's having a really hard time believing this. Mary, 15, she believes the angel a lot quicker. But this is a man of a lifetime of disappointment. Yeah. And he's like, I got to have a sign because this is crazy. He's like, okay, you're not going to talk for 9.5 months. Your sign is silence. So for 9.5 months, he has to listen to Winter's song of silence. He can't tell her what's happened. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he has to wait several months to see if she's pregnant. And then he finds out she's pregnant. He still can't tell her, and he can't talk for 10 months, at least 10 months. And he has to slow down and hear Winter's song. And just that was the sign for him to get quiet. And I think for me, returning back to Sing Winter, sing me your silent song, I try to practice silence at least once a day. I'm terrible at it. I flunk it so many times. But for me, when I practice silence, it's me. If it's just 5 minutes, I'm saying, God, come do in me what I can't do for myself. And that's what the discipline of silence is. Come on. And Zachariah had to step back and say, I'm powerless to fix this, and sit in the silence. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of a lifetime of a winter season, resurrection comes. Wow. And then he's holding his son, and the first words he speaks is, his name is John. His name is John. These are his first words he gets to speak. And so I think for me, that returning back to these lyrics, I had no idea what we were writing. No. And what we've learned from seasons of disappointment and learning how to trust the Lord in those really painful seasons. Yeah.
Even the last lines are, hear the song of beauty, melodies and sound, cover you in white love, a joy you lost but now have found. Ooh. And I'm like, oh man, such a theme. That was a prophetic thing we are saying. We didn't experience that in our 30s. We didn't know how to. But to sing it in our mid 40s, and be like, that's true. Yeah. Like, we have found joy in suffering. We found joy in the winter seasons. Like, it's profound. Like, the song is there in our lives. So yeah, it's very special.
Didn't know we were going to talk about all that with Sing Winter.
Thank you for the vulnerability. I think as one of the writers on the album, with each passing listen, and this is the first year of it being out, like, in your reflection of that song, I feel and know that this is shared among all of us who worked on this album, so much permission to be present where we actually are. And then there is this holy reality of singing these as fathers, singing these songs as mother, knowing that we're singing into our future.
Yeah.
With
Absolutely.
Even what you're talking about, like, I don't even understand how much I'm prophesying into my tomorrow and to the next generation.
Yeah.
The sons who I actually have, my daughter, who are small now, but they won't be small for long. And I hear that even in the story of this song, learning to be present. And I love the pace of Sing Winter as the opening track. And it is interesting to go back and listen to that song and really take it in, because it's a different pace. Yeah. There's a different tonality to it.
Totally.
And it really does set a course for where the album goes.
Yes.
And the permission that we all felt to actually dig in and say, who has God been for me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who is God for me right
So
now?
good. Yeah.
Where am I resisting him?
Yeah.
Where is he inviting me to silence,
That's right.
to really look, take it in? And then there's so much hope also threaded throughout all of these songs. Yeah. But I'm even thinking about that beautiful picture that you're talking about with Zachariah and Elizabeth, with Mary, just the silence that was broken after 400 years of between the Old and New Testament.
Yes.
Like, the silence is broken by the cry of a baby, the holy disruption. And
Beautiful.
And I think as you're even repeating back some of the lyrics to this song, it is profound to me, because I remember hearing that first version, but there were things that I missed that now I feel like I can actually receive from. And I feel that theme across this album as a listener, to actually be present for my life.
Yes.
And to also lean in, because I have no idea what I'm going to see God do.
Yeah.
Or where he's going to ignite more faith, or speak to places that just need reflection, like that need the looking back.
I think I would also just love to say that I do think, again, as we get older, there is a desire to be able to embody God with us, like Emmanuel, God with us, God at the table, God with us as we're opening gifts.
And that was the God beside you in that moment.
Absolutely.
It's like Emmanuel.
He was teaching me, like, I want to be Emmanuel. I want to be with you. Everywhere. The God that is with us. And when I listen to the theme of this song, I'm like, wow, like, I'm so proud of all of our guys, because they really wrote. I don't know that we could have done it 5 or 10 years ago. We wrote these songs from a revelation, like a revelatory place of God that is with us. Like, he's with us in the loneliness, in the sadness, in the crazy high levels of joy. Like, he is God with us, and he wants to be with us exactly where we are. Wow. And then I just love that, like, permission granted, like, be where you are. Be where you are. That is like, Emmanuel wants to come and be in that. Yeah. And every song embodies that. Yeah. That is a theme of the whole album. Like, this, like, Lord, teach me to have eyes to see that you are God with me right now. Yes. And I just love, I love, again, like, when in reflection, as we're talking about, and
such a gift.
The theme of it is it's very true to what we all value. Which is like, can we live lives where we embody this truth that God actually wants to be with us, you know? Oof. Yeah.
Mel, in closing, I wonder if you'd be willing to share, it feels threaded throughout so much of what you shared today, but if you'd be willing to share one hope that you have in your heart that people would take away in the years of listening to this album.
One hope. I mean, I think I definitely have reflected on it. I think my hope is that people would be awake for their lives and that this music would help them feel what maybe they haven't felt permission to feel.
Yeah.
And that like so much of what we all believe to be true is woven into all of the songs.
Yeah.
Just thinking about the line, like, we're every age that we've ever been in your song. And like, that is something we really believe.
Yeah,
like inside of our precious hearts is every age we've ever been.
Yeah,
and so I think my desire, my hope is that people would return and like, oh, that's the album that gave me permission. It gave me permission to feel so much joy and to feel that beautiful nostalgia, and then to think about my mother that's gone, or my father, or my friend, and to actually give the honor that their lives were worthy of by giving my tears. And like, I think for me, it would be everything. Like, if, you know, people are just cooking and then they tune in, and then tears come. And then the next song comes and they feel a reverence for God himself and the gift of Jesus Christ. And that would just be like, wow. And the awe and wonder would come. And then the joy, like the album ends with, oh, the joy. And it's just one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And we wrote it in community, and it carries that like joy to the world. The Lord has come. Like, I think that, my desire would just be that the hope is that it's given permission to just be fully present. And whether that's tears or joy or laughter or reverence or worship, whatever it is, that people would feel just, I can be exactly where I'm at with Jesus right now.
Come on.
And that maybe every year it would change, because we're all changing so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Thank you both so much.
Yes. You're so welcome.